the model of stakeholders, which was, we call ourselves a cooperative philanthropy, is much more than it's just a few people giving money every month and contributing. It creates a community, a cooperative philanthropy, whereby Jerusalemites who can afford to do so support issues in the city that need supporting in poorer neighborhoods where people can't do this. So there's also some kind of social justice in the system, as well as trying to put environmental wrongs right. So I'm very glad to see that most of you on the screen, we're being joined by Andrew and Alona, are in fact stakeholders, and I hope those of you who aren't will become stakeholders. And we have an interesting issue this evening where I'll be speaking later after Tamar does, because there is interaction between what Tamar is dealing with in Har Nof and the Jerusalem Green Fund and the Sustainable Jerusalem Lobby. We'll be talking about that and our role in the process and how we support local neighborhood challenges of the kind that Tamar is facing and all her neighbors and residents around. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I pressed the wrong one. Thank you. Thank you, Naomi. Okay, so Tamar, she's one of our stakeholders, and a Har Nof resident for a very long time. And I think some of the people here also are Har Nof residents. And maybe as the evening progresses, more people will pop in, which is fine. A bunch of people did RSVP from Har Nof, but which is important to share what's going on in your neck of the woods, literally woods, and what are the challenges, and to share it with us, so then we'll be informed and see how we can get involved. So, Bavakasha, Tamar.
I'm not going to speak on behalf of all of the challenges of Har Nof, because there are several challenges. There's the forest from one side, my end of the forest, and some building projects in other places. So Har Nof is being bombarded at the moment with several. And first of all, thank you very much. And I have tremendous admiration for Naomi and all the work that she's done over the many years. And this particular bringing together of organizations working together is, I think, very important on many levels. And hopefully we'll have a tremendous impact in our wonderful city. I have to apologize, though. I did tell Bat-El that I have a meeting at 9 o'clock. So I'm glad you're recording so that I can hear the piece I'm missing later on, Naomi. I'm going to start off with a little bit the things I've been involved in mainly. Started more than 20 years ago. We were involved in saving the Jerusalem forest, but and then many things that came out of that. But we started at the time there was a threat to the forest and to Har Nof, which was known as an old age home, and I will. I'm just giving some background, and then I'll show you a few slides and things. An old age home that they wanted to build in the wrong place, which is still the place they keep on wanting to build. This is the 4th time round. We're going to come to try and save that same location, but they keep wanting to build there. And it's a very strategic spot in Har Nof, which will pretty well destroy the feeling of the community if it gets built. So we at the time also came up with a Tayelet project. Aside from saving or fighting the particular building, we decided that we really have to start preserving things by wanting to design a Tayelet around Har Nof, which was one of the first promenades in the Jerusalem forest, which we talked to the JNF or Kakal about connecting to other promenades and walkways through the forest and paths. And so there was also we started a place called Shomara, where we worked in the forest and created a community forest, which was one of the first again. A lot of things we did at the time, which I'm not going to get into, but I'm going to try and share a little bit about our promenade, just so you understand, if I can see it, what we're trying to, let's see, share. I'm trying to share my screen, but I don't. Let me see if I can screen.
Yes, you can.
This is the Tayelet here. Can you see this? Can you see the Tayelet brochure? This is the brochure. I'm not going to get into it, but the Tayelet basically goes actually all the way around Har Nof. The first part is, which we have here in red, is the most built up. And the idea was to preserve the connection to the forest, make it accessible, because at the moment it is not. People on the Sabbath, which is, or any holiday, which is the time that the religious community will generally go outdoors and enjoy, don't have access because the Eruv was not constructed deep enough or well enough. So there are ways to, not only, as you can see here, we wanted to broaden the walkways, connect the upper and lower parts of the community with plazas at the two ends, have things that, I don't know how you call them, observation points that go out into the forest, which people can look at and view with. Play areas will be incorporated so that this, and because there are different demographic regions, different properties to the different parts of of this walkway. We even have places for bonfire for Lag BaOmer. We have communal gardens with halachic education for the people in the community who are interested in observing wild planting and growing. We have play areas for different age groups and a very interesting Eruv, and along the way explanations for Eruv and whatever else. So this is the idea that we wanted to have. At the end of this walkway, which you can see, or promenade, is a lower plaza. And here is where they constantly want to build something or other that will disrupt the neighborhood. So I'm gonna, and we also, because we want to save the forest, moved Highway 16 underground, which was another thing that we did. It was supposed to be above ground in the forest, and moved it downward under the Har Nof in a tunnel. So that's why Highway 16 is underground instead of above ground.
That was a great achievement in the late 90s.
Yeah, that was a great achievement. It was a lot of people working together, but it was our concept. We hired a when we heard about the highway, it was Tzipi Ron at the time. I consulted with her, and she recommended we get an architect designer who could, Tamar Ronen, who knew about tunnels, and we showed the Kakao that it was cheaper to put a tunnel under Har Nof than to dig up and choose a highway above ground. And then they went to the city and convinced them, and that's ultimately how Highway 16 went underground. So
Tamar, you want to make it full screen so we can see it as big as possible?
let me see, is this full? Oh, I should go full screen. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Here. So this is what the newest threat, if I'm talking too quickly, this is the newest threat in Har Nof, in the same place that we have fought it 3 times before. We have gotten, with the previous plans, we have gone up to the National Committee for the whole country, and they have approved that whatever is built here will not be above street level. That was what we have won twice already, but that doesn't mean that you've won, that nobody is going to come and buy the land and try and do something again. And this time round, we have very serious developers who want to build towers, because that's the in thing in Jerusalem. And everywhere in Har Nof, we are having other places they want to build towers or things that are much larger than the area. But here they want to build a tower. And this is particularly, anybody who knows Har Nof knows this is a very sensitive area, because this is a green space up here. It's a park, which also to some degree they have closed in by building very high around it so that the view has been impaired, but at least you have a green space. And the idea in designing Har Nof was you have this green space up here that connects downwards this way through with a green space and stairwells and views all the way up. The Kablanim have closed in some of these, but you still can see the green area here, and there are some parks up here, as you can see, connecting. So some of it has been preserved, not all. But here is still where many, many apartments face this view, and it is still a very central and important place for the community. So here you see again oops, I moved it back, the Tayelet here that we had planned. This is the built part of the Tayelet. The Tayelet actually goes all around Har Nof with bike paths and walking areas. And here's the view that you would see from many, many apartments. They look this way, you look towards the hills of Jerusalem. Again, this is the green area I showed you before, and sort of in the map, and here's looking down. And this is where the plan is. Okay. So again, here's where we had planned to build a plaza. There's a plaza at the top of the Har Nof. When you start to come down, there's a big plaza there with a view. And down here, this is sort of the nature of the plaza, which would be on, we had agreed it would be on top of any building that is built here. So that nothing goes above street level, you don't impede the view. People can walk and enjoy. This is the central park in Har Nof for many children and adults. And so we wanted to preserve that view. Whoops, let me see, is this the next view? What's the next? This is again, when you have a building, what the committees agreed would be the nature of the square on top of the building. It would be on the roof of the building, surrounded by green, at street level. And you could, here's the tayelet where you could walk. And here would be the square on which people could congregate, meet, have views, whatever else. That was supposed to be incorporated in every building. That was, we received from the National Committee. We then get to this new design by the new people who came in, who bought it, and they want to build 3 towers in this area. The land is, here's the road here. And so you can see that you put this in, it sort of blocks a lot of the view from the roads and this area. They're high. The buildings are about 16 stories high. And this is building for Mossad. So the way it works many times, and maybe you've heard it before, when you want to build a building and take land for yourself privately, the city demands that you give some of it to public space. Public space, in this case, theoretically, they're marking it as if it's green, but they're going to build on all this. So you won't have much green anywhere. And once it goes above street level, nobody here will have a view from the street or from the park across. And it starts being a real eyesore for anybody who live in Har Nof on the upper levels, because Har Nof is a hill, basically, looking down. So here's what you have now. And here's what you will have, which is 3 buildings, pretty large, blocking views from almost many places. And this will be built, but we do not know actually how high, because we don't know the kind of institutions that will be built here. So we're sort of looking, we have to still find out. And even here, what they submitted in terms of the plan is not well defined, and they left themselves an awful lot of leeway to make changes, add floors, add space. It's a plan that can only allow for a lot of problems. And again, you can see how high it is. It's higher than any building in Har Nof, and the rest of Har Nof is pretty tall. But Har Nof goes up again, it's a mountain, you're looking down. But to have this, something so huge in a place where everywhere else, the buildings were not supposed to be above 1 or 2 levels high, this breaks all the zoning that we have had till now down here. It goes against what we received twice in the Moetzah Artzit, the national, I don't know how you call them, regional council, that it should be at street level. Nothing, and it's a very hard fight because Jerusalem now wants towers everywhere in order to have people live there. This is another rendition of that building with some of the institutions as if built above ground here. So this is what this building is supposed to be in the middle of, as you can see, everything else is really quite low in comparison. And this in the most sensitive and lowest part in the community. Here's sort of a model of what it is. They want to do parking underground in the green space. There's a green space here. They want to have all this as if it's green, but it's not, because you can see that there's buildings already sticking out over here. These are the towers, and this is the parking under the green space here. So you're going to have cars coming in and out over here, which is a danger. We have children walking, people walking along the street. As you can see, the road is round. It is a danger. You cannot see well. And traffic coming in and traffic going out, and then everybody coming in and out of the site, it's impossible. Here are the 3 towers, plus what they've shown to be green is going to have buildings. So this is the property that we're fighting. And hopefully, I mean, many people in Har Nof signed against it. And we hope, I mean, for the Va'adah, they had to sign before lawyers, and we got quite a number to sign. And we still, and we have yet to end up at the Va'adah Mechozit to either speak to the Va'adah itself or speak to what they have, a choker, an investigator. So lately they're handing off the listening to everybody, to our lawyers, to our experts, to whatever, to one person who then comes to the committee and presents his summary or assessments, and then the committee will decide based of the Va'adah Mechozit regional committee based on what his recommendations are. And that's they seem to be doing that quite a bit lately, right? So we don't know if that's better.
Lazy. They're simply lazy. They can't be bothered to listen to everyone's objections. They
That's right.
appoint a choker because they have a budget for it. And it lets them off the hook.
That's right. So we have multiple experts, 2 sets of lawyers, and a lot of people in the community, but we don't know who's going to listen to us and how it's going to be boiled down. So I think
perhaps, Tamar, you could say a word about how we joined forces.
Now also, Nomi, in this particular case or in all the cases? I mean,
not in all the cases. No, we joined forces in the past. That was SPNI. But now in this recent round, what have we done? Because I think it's a model, and it's happening all over the city with the Jerusalem Green Fund and with the lobby. And your case is a very good example of how we were able to come in and hopefully be of help. We're not there yet, but we're doing our best.
No, Nomi is one of several. We had a number of experts who are addressing different aspects of our situation. We have a traffic expert. We have somebody who's also not only traffic, somebody else who deals with transportation and security on the roads. We have Haganat HaTeva, who came in to look at what the things are that are happening in the nature in the area. We have, different, and then Nomi came in also to help with their particular view of, I think it's also zoning in the city, the type of building that we're having, also dealing with nature, but in a little bit of a different way, and also with using the backing of the organizations that belong there to substantiate and support the things that we are claiming. Because
I think this is the point, because first of all, Tamar and her organization, the Shomera, came to a meeting of our Sustainable Jerusalem lobby. Tamar presented first her organization, which joined, and then she also presented the issue that she's facing, and as a member organization asked for the support of the Sustainable Jerusalem lobby in addressing this. And that's the reason we built this lobby. We've created an army. I can tell you that this week another whole community center joined, Gilo, which is 35,000 residents. The Minhal Kilati, the community center, has joined the lobby. We now have 12 community centers, which don't include Har Nof, by the way, just for your information.
Har Nof is a stubborn place.
By the way, Beta Kerem has joined, and who hasn't? I can give you the list if you like. But this case in Har Nof and other cases that are being fought in Har Nof are being led by residents. In the case of a section of the forest, we haven't presented it here. Perhaps it's something we should be presenting here. A whole 18 dunams, which is about 4 or 5 acres, is threatened. And it's another stakeholder who's fighting it with the support of the lobby. So in this case, when we wrote our special expert opinion paper, we did it and emphasized for the Regional Planning Committee that this is with the backing of the Sustainable Jerusalem lobby, which has 90 organizations in it, and it means they have to listen to us. They have to listen to us. It's not just someone in Har Nof who doesn't like the look of a building in her backyard, excuse me putting it like this, because that's the way they like to frame someone like Tamar when she comes to the Regional Planning Committee. We know that's not, there might be such cases, by the way, but it's definitely not the case in this case. And I'll mention the points that we made, because we are very careful now as a lobby not to be fighting all the towers that are going up. There are quite a few hundred towers planned in Jerusalem. And one of the reasons that towers are being planned, and the mayor's excuse, or says he takes pride in it, is because he has taken a stand to protect the Jerusalem hills, not build on green open spaces. Just recently, by the way, you remember, some of you were at it, I gave a talk about the urban biosphere that we are actually developing. And the mayor has signed on. We're going to have an urban biosphere in the Jerusalem hills. And actually, this place that Tamar is trying to protect, and hopefully will succeed in protecting, is within that watershed and in that biosphere. So one of the big issues in building a very heavy, tall, massive residential unit at a place where the descent to the forest from the upper park in Har Nof should lead you into an open forested area. This is going to result in terrible flooding impact as well, because we have increased extreme weather. So, and that's all in a slope. All around Har Nof, as many neighborhoods of Jerusalem, is quite a steep slope down into the forest. So when heavy precipitation falls, it needs the soil and it needs open ground in order not to have this tremendous flooding that then downstream, even not in Jerusalem. You have to know that in Ashdod and Yavne, there is flooding if we don't build carefully enough in Jerusalem. So that's an issue, looking at the wider issue. And of course, the Jerusalem forest is a very precious urban asset. And one of the things we, the Sustainable Jerusalem Lobby, say is that we're not going to fight what they call the Hitchadshut Ironit, the urban renewal, where an old building is knocked down, often in very bad condition, and then a new one is put up, a bit too tall in my opinion, but doing a good thing on the whole, giving the residents a larger apartment and giving them a protected room, because we're often attacked by missiles, you never know these days, and trebling or quadrupling the number of apartments in the building. So that's densification on ground that was already built on, and therefore, in many ways, we should not be objecting to it, although many of us have our doubts. Are these towers sustainable? And there has been a recent development, because there was a sort of agreement that all along where the light rail is, the city can build up to 30 stories. I've got one just near my house here on the corner in Kiryat Moshe. But recently, new plans have come that in parts of the city, they're going to be building up to 40 and 50 stories. And I don't know where that jump came from, and I don't think it's sustainable. And we're going to object to those and not be part of it. But we do object in a place simply on the issue of open space and natural areas. Even if it's not got the blue line of the forest around it, it is an open natural area. And as such should be protected, because we don't have a lot of them. And we need everything that we've got, and we need to build only on areas that have already been built on and spoiled in some way, and there are plenty of those. So there are all the reasons in the world to object to this project. It actually goes against the current policy of the municipality for all the reasons that I've given. And it's symptomatic of, I'd say, about 6 plans that are in the planning committees at the moment, all of which share an identical symptom, that building on this area, they've been trying to do it. Tamar mentioned the old age home. There was something else I think they wanted to build there.
There was an old age home, there was a yeshiva, there was an apartments complex, and now we're back to a complex.
Okay, but all of these plans originally began, I would say, in the 80s. They began at the very beginning of Har Nof. They began thinking of how can they expand all around. And at that point, the city did not have a climate policy, was not part of an urban biosphere. We've just got a new city plan that I hope perhaps we can present to you, find someone who can present it properly, professionally in English, for shading the city and adding lots and lots of trees. And here we're spoiling nature and spoiling the access to the forest and actually harming the quality of life in Har Nof, because when Har Nof was built as a neighborhood, the idea was, well, there aren't going to be lots and lots of parks here. There'll be one at the top, but of course, there will be access to the Jerusalem forest all around. And this wonderful promenade was planned but never built. And this building, by the way, steps on the promenade, stops it, interrupts it. So it's as though, and that's one of the reasons we're objecting. And now we, the Jerusalem Green Fund and the lobby, do not submit an objection. The way we work is we join forces with the main protagonist of the objections, and that's of course Tamar in this case, and we provide a position paper to support the objection in the name of all the 90 organizations in the lobby, which gives it a lot of weight. And then we're heard in the planning committee, but we're not perceived as objectors, we're experts. And it's much better in this context to be an expert than to be an objector. They're much more polite to experts. Objectors are getting in the way, and experts are welcomed. And often the experts are people who might have objected, but it all looks better and is received better in that format. And Tamar's got some powerful experts with her apart from us.
I wanted to say one thing. What was interesting about this particular site, it was originally green space. Because Har Nof was a religious community and they felt they needed room for more institutions, they decided to designate the area we're talking about as a private but institution for some sort of educational or whatever institution area. In the end, they never used it that way and keep on trying to build apartment buildings on it, which is the last thing Har Nof needed. This was supposed to be used because we had no choice but to add more room for Mosdot because it was a religious neighborhood. Since then, that has sort of fallen through, but still they keep wanting to use it for other uses, which is ridiculous.
So it's very interesting, Tamar, what you're saying, because in fact, you have a municipality, and if you read the policies of the planning committees and the planning department, they're not bad. We need to add public institutions. We need to protect our green areas. We need to be careful there's no flooding. And then you create, and I can show you about 5 other plans in the city that are running through the committees now that do exactly the same and sort of completely contravene the whole policy of the city and of the regional planning committee, which means it's contradicting itself. Excuse me.
I'll just say that's quite true, and I'm not gonna, or we're not gonna get into all the details of all those maybe other 6 plans going on in the regional committee at the moment. But I will say that a lot of them have the exact same criteria: mountain neighborhoods and some crazy building plan right on the edge between the neighborhood, which is built up, and the forested area adjacent to it, like across the board. Each one has a proposed promenade. It's like the same exact thing, just copy paste Har Nof, copy paste Romema, copy paste Neve Yaakov, copy paste Gilo, and that's how it keeps on going.
And that's what's brought Gilo into the lobby. They realize that they don't want to be a NIMBY neighborhood objecting to plans. They want public backing, and we can provide that as long as we're consistent and as long as we use the common sense that the planning committees are not using. We are consistent. If the plan is on a natural area, if it's not close to any public transport, and this isn't, by the way, if it blocks an ecological corridor, or if it's near holy sites or the old city or something like that. We have a list of criteria. And one of the interesting cases that we're involved in as a lobby, what's known as the Burj Khalifa, 55 stories high on Mount Herzl, some kind of a tall, sort of very nasty monstrosity, which
Looks
it's
like a
very-
giant monolith. You know, whoever saw that
and
movie.
the very interesting thing about it is that it's not only entirely clear that that is not what we should be building there, but the planning authorities didn't even do their homework. What became apparent at the appeal in the National Planning Council is that on the west side of Har Herzl, where that red statue is, you're familiar with the big red statue up there? The railway stop of the light rail. They were sensitive to the fact that you're near Yad Vashem, you're near the military seminary, and you're near Mount Herzl. These are three holy sites in the modern sense of the state of Israel. They're important national sites for all of us. And they said that there, one of the objectors, a professor of geography, Eran Feitelson, came and showed the planning guidelines. You're not supposed to build more than 10 stories there, but you have 55 stories because someone decided you can change the policy. When you have a developer who's bringing in enough clout, and clout in this usually means money for the city. And we have to be honest about it, and we have to be prepared to fight this kind of plan, which is what we do.
Jerusalem is not a wealthy city, but it's not going to save itself by overbuilding. It's just going to destroy the value of the things it has. Particularly I know that in other cities in the world, wherever they have old cities or historic sites, they don't build towers next to them in order to dwarf them.
Indeed. And by the way, you have to know that this Sustainable Jerusalem Lobby organizations do not pay to join. Its activities are funded by the Jerusalem Green Fund. So we're the driving force in keep bringing everyone together. We meet once a month. New organizations are welcomed, and we've been doing it since the beginning of 2018. We've been growing stronger and stronger, and governments have risen and fallen, and we keep going. Questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, I definitely want to open the floor for questions anybody has for Tamar or for Nomi or for us.
Someone's asking a question on the chat. Have we had, yes, can we, you know what? That's a very important question. Is that, that's iPad who's asking that question. What's iPad's name? I can't remember. iPad's the lady at the top, but I can't remember her name, but she's asked Martina. So the thing is, we have to look at successes that we've had in the city. And there have been quite a lot of successes, both for the lobby now and in previous years. In fact, Tamar mentioned a very, very important success. Highway 16 would have wound its way through the Jerusalem forest all around Har Nof if we hadn't fought, and I remember we were in it together. I was SPNI at that time. But to have a tunnel through made a big, big difference. That was an achievement. Then again, to prevent building in the Gazelle Valley and have it turned into Israel's first urban nature park. The railway park, I don't know where you live, Martina, but you said Katamon, so maybe you go for walks on the railway park. Do you? Or you've got no sound or something, so it's very cruel to ask you questions.
I unmute myself now. Yes, we live very close to the Messila, which is wonderful, but I already heard also a sign that it may be, because Katamonim is also going to be completely, I don't know, reconstructed. All the old buildings are going down, and it's going to be towers, towers, towers. And I heard signs that they also want to do something with parts of the Messila.
The Park Messila will continue to be contiguous to the as far as Malcha, as far as the Rifa'im Park,
Malcha,
there
yeah.
will be one place where it goes up over a bridge. That's what's going to happen to it. But the Israel Railway will be taking the train as far as the first station, but they will do it underground. And then there will be a stop at the end of the first station area, the place where if you go into the first station from David Remes and you turn right and go far to the right, there's a whole area there of all kinds of things. That is going to become a train station. It's also going to be a station for the cable car that has been approved, although many people fought it and thought it wasn't a very good thing for Jerusalem. It will go from the first station as far as Mount Zion, Har Zion, and from there we'll go on to the Mount of Olives. Now, some people thought this was terrible, but I actually personally thought, and other professionals thought, that the alternative, getting lots and lots of people to the Kotel, has become a nightmare. How do they get there? And one of the alternatives to that cable car would have been the Gehinnom Valley between Mount Zion and the other side would have been covered in roads to get them all there. So I think in many ways the cable car isn't pretty. It doesn't look nice, but it won't invade nature, and apparently it can take 1,000 or 2,000 people an hour if it's run properly. So we'll wait and see. A lot of government funding is going into it. And if we're looking for other successes, then recently a whole area in Kiryat Yovel called Emek Yovel and the Taylor Community Center, the community center itself sold the whole area to Shikunu Binui, a development company, Sherry Harrison's development company, and they turned up about 3 years ago and said, we want to build on this now, we want to build more towers. But by then, they did this sale about 30 years ago. But now, when they wanted to build Shikunu Binui, the neighborhood realized that they were going to have about 200 or 300 towers of their own, and they need this space for the open space, for the public buildings, for the community center. There's a wonderful food rescue project that we run there, and there is also a swap sale shop of Imahot Le'ogrot. It's wonderful. It's clothes for kids and clothes for adults. It's a kind of gamach, but it works very, very nicely. A lot of activity there. The whole valley, that we are actually in charge, Jerusalem Green Fund, of community activities there. And one of the deputy mayors, there is one section of the city council that's very pro-environment. Yossi Chavilio came to us, to the lobby, and said, could he tell the mayor that the lobby supports his idea, which is not to let Shikunu Binui build in all that area. There's also a tennis court and a swimming pool, I forgot about them, and a football ground. But would they please go to Givat Matos? And he gave them the mayor agreed, gave them the land in Givat Matos. And we are now celebrating turning Emek Yovel into another wonderful nature park. And this, I think, is nothing short of a miracle. Just the only thing that upsets me is that the building rights that have been given to Shikunu Binui on Givat Matos allow them to build about 40 stories in each tower, and that's going to be absolutely horrendous.
Where is Givat Matos? Where is that?
It's near.
Givat Matos is when you go all the way down Derech Hebron, and to the east of you is Har Choma, and to the west of you is Gilo. It sits right in between there. Although right there, there's also building the green line of the light rail, so it's supposed to be very well transport connected, in theory.
Yeah,
I pass it every day.
that's one of the justifications.
Right, right. I want to say there's Alona and Andrew have a question about, we live near the Tayela where they are building hotels, and we live by the construction site for the light rail. We're used to walking through the first station, and it's mazed to walk through the parking lot. Is there anything that we can do?
apparently the parking lot is going to turn into a building development. There is a plan now in the
Right.
works. But the problem
Right.
with the plan is it also destroys a cluster of trees. And there's a group of neighborhood activists that have been trying to protect those trees. I don't think with any success.
No, I don't think so. Although I haven't had an update from them in a while.
But one of the reasons, by the way, that plot of land, I think, is prime for building. Would you agree with me? I mean, why should you just have an open car park there? They can have a car park underneath.
I
And-
heard
and building on top.
it's part of Rami Levy is going to build there.
Rami Levy,
Yeah.
yes. But I think it needs to be built on. He's owed that land for a long time.
Yeah, they're going to build on it.
And one of the reasons they're now building on that place, which is not moving out and building on the pristine Jerusalem hills, is because of the development of the first station and the railway park, which have made the whole area so attractive for building. It's
Right.
become a very major city hub.
I want to give one more minute. I see that it's getting near 9 o'clock, and Tamar said that you need to go. Did anybody have another particular question for Tamar? It's okay if you don't.
It's fine.
Okay. I just want to also then say thank you very, very much to Tamar for joining and telling us the story of this, let's say, very, very important space at the bottom of Har Nof, really, and means protecting the forest is the same, one and the same. So, like I said, this is also being recorded, so hopefully I'll share it with a bunch of people who RSVP'd and other friends also from Har Nof and wherever else, and to also hear the story and what's going on. And we'd like to invite you tomorrow to also update us as the story progresses, please, God, in the right
Okay.
direction.
I'd like to say something. On the 19th of May, we have the annual general meeting of the Jerusalem Green Fund. I don't know if all of you are aware of it. But I know Zahava has RSVP'd and will be attending on Zoom from New York. Tamar, I hope you can come. I hope others of you. I know Eileen is coming. Eileen and Shoshana are board members. I understand Jean Fax is going to be appointed to the board, and I hope you will be there, Ruth and Jean. Will you and Charles be able to come, Mrs. Maslin, to the annual general meeting? We're going to be convening in the Bet Levi Eshkol. It's a beautiful building with a beautiful garden outside. We convene there at 5 o'clock for light refreshments. And
When
then at
is it?
6 o'clock,
When is it?
it's the 19th of May.
I am
Okay.
sending in the chat the link to register for the annual general meeting, which is for stakeholders and friends, which is what I referred to earlier as paying a particular contribution to be a stakeholder or a friend.
Alona and Andrew, will you be able to come? And Lorraine,
Yeah,
you can, you've got it down?
One thing I'd like to make a request is that if this goes to the Har Nof residents and any of them are interested, we always can use volunteers when it comes to getting people to come to committees or sign up or whatever it is that we will need to do. So it's not a lot of work, but from time to time, when we have activities, it is a lot of work.
True.
And Martina, have you got a bit more of an idea of one small aspect of the things that we do? That's only a bit of it.
Yes, a very small part. I'm still thinking, and I'll go to the website and I'll
Have a look at the website, and if you want to meet with us and hear more, we'll explain, because we work at 3 levels. This is the city level of the lobby, dealing with plans that are impacting the environment.
Yeah.
But we work in neighborhoods, and we also work at the regional level on our biosphere. So we're doing a lot.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yes, you're very motivated and okay. Thank you.
I also want to say we didn't hear, I know your name is not Yehudis Dorfman, obviously. That must be your
That's
wife.
right.
You want to say Yitzhak, okay. Because I got an RSVP from Yehudis.
Yes,
And you
yes,
live in Har Nof, right?
yes.
Were you familiar with the plan?
Not too much.
Do you
But
live near
Okay,
it?
so
Unfortunately, I missed the beginning of the meeting. I'll have to listen to the recording
yeah, I'll send it to you.
to get filled in because we were out at a.
Sure. So it's very important to share it with more Har Nof people as well.
Yes,
and join
we're
the-
definitely interested in seeing what we can do to help.
Wonderful.
Okay, so on the website, I also can contact you if I like.
Yeah, I'll send you in the email.
That's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
you'll be okay. So for the stakeholders out there, I really do hope to see you in person at the Beit Levi Eshkol on May 19th. And anybody else can email me. You all have my email address to get more details about that if you want, and also to become stakeholders if you are not yet a stakeholder. And that's it. Any last comments or questions? No, Yopi. So I'll just say thank you. Thank you to everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
And no need to
what?
stop the recording.
Stop the recording. Pause.